fairly sweeping corners, and I remember it was a fairly long run, and the corners were, you know, like a 30-degree bend that you sort of went for, you know, 200 metres or whatever. Those sort of corners were in the road. On that run, we actually had to do it a few times because I needed Pi to go a lot faster than what he thought I could go in the car. Because the bikes in those days probably, they didn't handle all that well. I mean, a brand new Quacker 900s or 1000s, whatever, which were bloody nice bikes, but in those days they weren't a great handling vehicle. And a car through a corner could always be a lot faster. So it was a matter of going, hey, you go flat out type thing and I'll try and stick with you. Which he didn't, but by the time we probably did, I know I can't remember how many takes, it'd be at least 3 or 4, it was virtually going flat out. Because I remember, you know, the pegs were hitting the side of the ground, what have you. And like you're in the car 5 yards behind me, you go, yep, come on, keep going, mate. I'm right up here, I ain't backing off. Because again, it's a bit like an intimidation thing, because like I'm in this car that, and it was a pretty fierce looking car anyway, and I'm right up your ass. I ain't backing off. And if I have to, it's too late. Because, I mean, if he fell off or whatever, I mean, you can't, no one's reactions are that good to not hit him.
The bike was actually static and it was standing on its stand.
It's wired together with various pieces of the other bikes, and also the toe cutter is a very poor shop mannequin that's also wired together. Well, one thing George said about that particular stunt was, make sure the head doesn't come off, because if it does, we'll give away the gag.
When a truck hits a bike, it doesn't need to hit it at 400 mile an hour to do you know, the appropriate amount of damage. And I think in the end we agreed that the speed was going to be 60 mile an hour. As soon as he came over the hill, I thought to myself, there's no way he's doing the speed we'd agreed to, because he came over the hill like a bat out of hell. And when he hit the thing, it was quite spectacular. The entire trailer at one point was off the ground. One of the problems was, and probably in hindsight, because we'd never done anything like this before, in hindsight we should have loaded the trailer. But the trailer was actually empty, and a Pantech in those days, which they referred to as, was all aluminium, and they were very lightweight. So this thing, as it went across the top of the bike, ripped the crossover lines off the fuel tanks on the prime movers. There was diesel going in all directions. Damaged the landing legs on the trailer, because it sort of kept ripping things off on the way through. We're sort of standing there thinking to ourselves, my God, we borrowed this truck.
We only had one go at this sort of thing. Everything only had one go. So the idea was that you had the frame, you had the black on black with Mel in the car looking, solemn and, evil as well. And then your top of the car, and then you had the top of frame and the widescreen sort of situation, you could see this ball of flame. So if the ball of flame was up there and the frame was there, well, fucking useless, mate, That's it. That was all over.
Just before it, I had nothing to do, so I'm well out of the way and up the hill, halfway up the hill. And this guy comes up to me and says, those guys know what they're doing down there? And I said, yeah, they'll be right. Why? He said, I own the property down there. And he said, we had a film crew here a few years ago, and he said, they set fire to me paddock. I said, I think you'll be right with these guys. Well, there's this almighty explosion, a fireball right up. And then the grass caught fire. Well, he just bolted. I thought, oh, well, it's time to go home. Just jumped in the truck and left.
If the stunts were hard and the vehicles were suffering, well, we'd have to work on them until we got the vehicles, until they were right for the next day's shoot.
Yeah, the mechanics, they did a terrific job, and if I remember correctly, Some nights they'd work all night.
Oh, you wouldn't believe how the mechanics rescued those cars.
Well, it didn't matter what the problem was, whether the automatic blew up or whatever happened, I'd rebuild it and have it going.
You know, you'd wreck a car, but you only had one of it, so you'd have to go back, and overnight, while we were sleeping, Robert would work all night in the garage and get it back into shape. So if we didn't have the car, we couldn't shoot the next day, or we'd have to shoot a scene that didn't require a car. So he was critical to keeping our production going, virtually single-handedly. He just had that knack, that black thumb, or whatever you need to keep, you know, to be a great mechanic.